Welcome to Blue Collar Mystics, the under-the-hood approach to the depths of human consciousness. So many mysteries, so little time, so many big words. That's why we aim to take the mystical and make it practical, usable in your everyday life. And you know, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. What happened when you started asking yourself the real questions? Like, who am I? What is this? Is it a hologram? Is this some kind of weird cosmic joke? Hey, these are the questions that we are trying to get to the bottom of as we explore the final rabbit hole together here as Blue Collar Mystics. What's up, rock lobsters and people, whatever. We're talking about transurfing, and I'm excited to be doing this live stream with Abbie Johnson. This is a long time coming, honestly. How's it going, everybody? How's it going, Abbie?
It's great. I feel like I should be wearing my swimsuit, though.
Yeah, I wanted to call this a transurfing safari because we're going to be talking about our own journeys and as well, you know, just ways I think that people could be helped by this model. It brought us together, and I think that is special in its own right. And I don't know, maybe it's not for everybody. The transurfing thing, like so many people, I've been like, hey, you should read this 900-page book, and they're like, yeah, go fuck yourself. You know, like that's never gonna happen. So I'll throw in too, I guess, a quick plug here. I did just make a summary of the book. So if you don't want to read 900 pages, you want to dip your toe, that my summary is only 3 hours. So
Oh, dang, you cut it way down.
Yeah, I mean, but still,
I
3
would
hours.
totally do that.
I mean, still,
it's worth it. I'll tell y'all, it's totally worth it. I mean,
yeah, it's worth it.
the whole book is worth it, but I mean, if you just can't do it, just read the summary.
Yeah, check it out. Dip your toe, read the summary. Then you'll probably want to read the whole book. But I tried to like cut down. There's so much nuance in there, so just try to make it simple. You know, I've been reading the book on and off, probably at least once a year for like 8 fucking years or something.
Minimum, right?
Yeah, something like that. So, you know, and a lot of people were like, "Where you been? Will you make some videos?" And I don't know, the timing just seemed right, and I decided that I would make some new videos. And so yeah, but I wanted to just kind of unpack the stuff with you. You're another person that I know who has just been heavily affected and influenced and changed a lot over the past several years as a result of reading the book. Me too. I thought we would take this first episode and just talk about a little bit about our process, our journey into where we are now, where we started. Because I thought about it a lot today. You know, you messaged me that you were nervous, and I was like, that's cute.
I know, right? How many times have we podcasted together already? And then I live stream all the time too. And it's like, why all of a sudden am I nervous?
Why
So
is this
weird.
different? Because we could get in trouble for
Because
it?
the Enneagram 5 thing, like I feel like I should have my notes for this so that way I do a really good job of presenting the material and I'm like totally accurate. So I feel like, you know, that part of me is triggered right now.
Well, you
I
know
feel
it.
like I'm winging it tonight.
Well,
So
you know it. Like how long ago did you discover it? When did you read it for the first time?
it was probably about I would say now it's been like 5 or 6 years, which is crazy.
Mhm.
And like my story was I was just floundering, you know, I was totally unhappy with work, with everything, just life in general. I was depressed and I didn't know what to do about it. So I kind of got into self-help books. Like I would listen to like I was a lunch lady, okay? And I'm sitting there like in order to get through my day, I had to listen to like self-help books. It's the only way I could make it through my workday. So I'm sitting there started with reading like Jen Sincero, You're a Badass.
Oh
And
yeah,
it
I
was a
remember
good
that book.
book. Yeah, it was a really good book, but like I don't know, it was my gateway drug, I guess, into the whole mental masturbation, right?
Right.
And it was good and everything, but, like, she kept talking about, "You should meditate," and I'm like, "You know how hard it is to just close your eyes and fucking meditate?" Especially if it's, like, not something that you do regularly, like, it is so freaking hard. So, I found, like, guided meditations on YouTube, Aaron Doty or whatever, is that it? I don't know how
Hmm.
to say his name.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and anyway, he kept talking about reality transurfing, and I was like, "What the fuck is this reality transurfing?" So I finally, like, look it up, and the book was, like, $300. I was like, "What the hell? Okay, well, I have to read this book now, right?" Like, you can't find it anywhere except on Amazon, like, 1 book at a time. But then I found it on YouTube. So, it actually the first book, I wanna say, like, Vadim Zeland, the author, put out himself. Am I
So,
wrong to say that?
I
It
think so.
actually
I think that's right. No, I think that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
I think it was him. So, I actually listened to book 1, you know, through Vadim Zeland's channel, and then the second book was hard to find. I found this other lady who read it, and she would sit there and go, "Let me repeat that," and she would reread, like, it was cool, you know, it's fine, I made it through it, but, but then I found Bootsy Greenwood, and, you know, you've totally, like, put the whole book on YouTube for me, and it was awesome, so changed my life.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, it changed my life. When I found it, I was I had no idea what I was doing. I was in such a bad way. I was like a hard case, you know. I was in such a and previously before I like went into like conspiracies and stuff, I was a very bubbly, sort of charming, fun, you know, outgoing type of person. And then when I started listening to Alex Jones about the frogs being gay, then all of a sudden, dude, like I was like, no, this is not the world that I thought I lived in. And I got like really down, really down for a while. And I started like reading, old history books and dystopian novels like 1984 and Brave New World and stuff. And I just went into this like isolation version of myself where I was like literally and figuratively in my dad's basement, just like hating everything and trying to convince him, let's buy a farm, dad. We need to bug
Just
out.
I feel like I did that with the Bible, you know, and before all this, like, I was so deep into, like, the Book of Revelation and all the end times Bible prophecy, like, I would sit there and check, like, there's websites like raptureready.com and stuff like that. I would sit there and check those, like, nonstop, and I was watching the news, and the news confirms, you know, that the rapture is getting ready to happen, and so, yeah, I was doing the same thing, just kind of, like, different end of the spectrum. I was bringing the whole religion into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in this like apocalypse, paradigm of the end of the world and all this kind of stuff. And that happened to me for, quite some time, honestly. Like when I discovered the book, I was like taking a course on how to be social. It was so sad. I'm so pathetic because I had gone the
You
complete.
of all people, that's so funny
Exactly.
to
I
me.
know. I had lost my ability to just talk to people because I had been so isolated for a couple of years. And then the guy who was teaching the course just under his breath just mumbled the word transurfing. And it was like, and I was like, there's something to that. And I went and I Googled it and found a PDF copy, like an ebook of the first book. And I just consumed it. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is the thing that I've been looking for all these years, because I was reading like Buddhist stuff, and I was reading any spiritual things and self-help things and
mental masturbation.
yeah, like I mean, and still a lot of those things I love, like James Allen, As a Man Thinketh was one that I found, and Self-Reliance by Emerson, and just a lot of really good, the Tao, a lot of really good stuff, and I liked all that stuff, but it just didn't tie the room together like this this
Yeah,
one,
it is so groundbreaking. As far as that, I mean, it changed my whole paradigm. And the reason why it was easy for me to consume versus all these other spiritual books is because I was coming from a hardcore Christian background where I would sit and read my Bible like all day long. So I couldn't, just do a religious or like a spiritual text and just buy into it. It had to be something that worked with my scientific brain, but also wasn't going to conflict with my spirituality. So, and transurfing was like the perfect model, and I mean, just showed me everything I was doing wrong with my life.
Well, it's like complementary to anything,
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it so much, and it got me out of this like victimhood mentality, because that's really where I was at. Like I was like, oh no, it's the apocalypse or
Same.
1984, Brave New World, and I can see the prison that we're in or whatever, and I was like, I'm never escaping it, and I'm stuck, But when I started reading this book, it kind of reframed things for me. And he doesn't say it until like later in the book, but he's like, stop trying to change the world. You can't anyway. And it's a distraction to try and fight what is anyway. And Rick Rubin kind of says the same thing in his new book, which is awesome. I highly recommend people check that out too. It's awesome. The Creative Act, A Way of Being, very complimentary to the Transurfing book, and for creatives, really encouraging and comforting, because everything else I was consuming was just like super negative, super dystopian and black pill. And when I found this book, because at the time I was just a bartender, I had no direction. I had recently had a breakup. I was drinking a 12-pack every single night by myself. I would literally come home and drink a 12-pack of like Sierra Nevada or whatever. Yeah, Rick Rubin's book has
Nevada, by the way. As a former Nevada girl, if you say Nevada, I mean, it's annoying.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my alcoholism, Abbie.
Say it right. Damn it.
Okay. Alcoholism. I did like
smart ass.
but I did, but I did. I like literally, I had no idea what I was working at this like bar out in for all these rich conservative like golfer people, and I was just serving them drinks, and that was all I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, no clue, and I just felt hopeless. And I even started seeing a like a hypnotherapist at the time, and she was amazing. She did a great job. She was she was awesome too, because like at the end of our like 6th or 7th session, I can't remember how many it was, she was like, okay, we're done. It's the only therapist I've ever heard of who had an end in sight.
She wasn't trying to keep taking your money.
She didn't want me on retainer. She was like, okay, you're good, dude.
So she's a healer.
She was a true healer, and she was amazing.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
you should plug her.
yeah, definitely. If people want me to put her in touch, I'm happy to. But I had no idea what I wanted to do or what I was doing or any of that kind of stuff. I was really in a difficult kind of spot, very conflicted. And when I found this particular book, it just, like I said, it tied the room together, because it like, he acknowledged all the things that I knew to be true in the sort of conspiracy world, and it's kind of a spiritual individualism, if I could say that about the philosophy. Like even before that, I had read like Ayn Rand and like all these other like libertarian books, and I love those books, are great. But then I would read like Hermetics, like the Kabbalion, and I'd be like, wow, she really missed a lot. If she's trying to have a whole model, she's like, What about ghosts and shit? You know, what about metaphysical, you know, all this other stuff that I know is real? Like I can feel vibes, I can totally feel that. But I also agree with the pragmatism and the objectivist ideology. That makes a lot of sense. But he really brings both of those worlds together in this book. It's like and as I read it again, it gets less spiritual every time. I know it might sound a little bit.
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's just like common sense at some point.
It is common sense. And at
It's
the
like, oh
time,
my God, you've been in your way the whole fucking time. It's not the
exactly.
world. It's not God. It's not the devil. It's always been you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
And I needed an explanation because I had so many, and I was doing it myself, like unconsciously at times in my life, you know, earlier, you know, I'd be getting cool jobs. Like I worked at Coachella, you know, and worked as a raft guide and did, you know, all these cool things, ski instructor, and just kind of was just pursuing pleasure. And I've talked about this before, you know, but I was just like, that's what I was interested in, but I was enjoying life and having fun and positive. And so more opportunities would come. And then I would meet all these cool people. Like I met like my friend Terry and all these folks that were on this Vans Warped tour, and people who worked at Coachella and other music festivals, and TV people who were friends of mine. And, you know, some of them were very talented. Others of them, maybe not as much, but all of them had a disposition that you wanted to be around them. And so because of that, they would get more opportunities, and they would, you know, they were living these lifestyles that at the time I'm like, how is this even possible? And I was even subconsciously doing it before, you know. And then whenever I came to the end of the world paradigm, then everything started in my life to go to shit.
The shit show.
No surprise there, you know. But yeah, I mean, it totally explained to me why I was seeing the phenomena that I was with my friends, you know, people who were getting cool opportunities and living dream lives, and why I was at some times in my life, and then at other times in my life I wasn't, you know. And it is common sense. And he even says in the book, we all know this when we're young. Kids know that we're just here to play a game, and then adults take the game too seriously. It's like a Bill Hicks bit. You know, it's
they
like
slowly,
the ride.
adults gonna take it away from you a little bit at a time. They take away your belief in magic, that anything's possible.
Right. And like the whole idea of magic really is explained with that word intention in this book, because it's not some hoity-toity flighty, you know, type of a thing.
And that's, I guess, because in the you know, foreword of this book, he basically says, you know, this, you don't want to, or if you think that it, well, he invites you to just try everything. He's like, look, I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to convince you, just try it. Like, it's not hard. And that was the thing, is that like every book that you're excited about, like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this. And then it's like, but here, do a 1 hour and 45-minute meditation. And you're like, when the hell do I have time to do this shit? Are you kidding me? Like, so then you stop. Like, I'm not going to keep pursuing it. But everything in this book, that's what really, you know, tripped me out, is that everything he tells you to try literally takes minutes, if that, you know. And when you do it, I mean, it rocked my world. It will change your paradigm. It'll change everything for you, because you start to see that, okay, like, magic is real. And it's not necessarily magic. It's just the nature of things. It's quantum physics, but it's the whole things that you didn't believe was actually possible. You can make the impossible possible. It's all possible.
It is. Yeah. And you know, I was messaging you today. I was like, think about how far you've come, and myself included, right? Like I was just like a rock bottom bartender, you know what I mean? And so, and I haven't like crossed I haven't arrived yet or whatever. Like I don't have that
Right.
sort
We're
of an
not like,
attitude. It's not like that. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still have a lot of ambitions that I haven't fulfilled
but
yet.
you're badass in your own right, and so am I. So,
Well, I mean, I'm doing I'm doing the things that I
Badass things.
want to do. I'm pursuing the things that I want to pursue, and I'm enjoying the process of doing that, you know. And yeah, so it's maybe from the outside looking in, it's not that miraculous, but I mean, I do have IMDb credits, you know. I'm a, you know, credited producer for Hollywood movies and prank shows and all that kind of stuff, and then all that happened as a result of creating the audiobook. And yeah, I'm doing better. Yeah, my homie James is in the chat. He knows I'm doing better. You know, my people know. I got my friends.
I mean, how many lives have you changed because you created the audiobook? Like mine, for sure. Because of you, like everything that's in my life right now pretty much happened. It's kind of weird. Like you've been the catalyst. So, I mean, we could say Aaron Doty was for me because he's the one who like kept saying the word. But then in order for me to get the information I needed, I had to find you. And then when I found you, not only did you become like one of my very best friends, like, I mean, because of you, I know like the Secret Society of Good Guys and all the people I podcast with. And I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be a bodybuilder right now. Like all these little things, I wouldn't have the job I have now.
How big's a beach ball, Abbie? About
I don't even know what you're talking about, so I'm just laughing.
Which way is the gym? Which way is the pool?
Oh, we're doing that?
Yeah.
You can't see my black shirt. My glutes are the more impressive thing anyway.
That's true. I'm not going to ask you to show those off, not on a live stream. That's just not fair. But no, I mean,
that my picture during every Secret Society.
Yeah, she does. It's the best part of the show.
The air.
No, but I don't know. I was so super self-conscious about even putting the shit out there. You know, for whatever reason, I felt compelled to make the audio book. And I was like, this is a maybe gray area, but I'm going to do it. And then people were sharing it, and people, you know, who seemed to approve and could have the power to approve did. And so I was like, all right, great. This is good. This is helping people. So then I started making videos explaining it, because at the time, and I don't think this is true anymore. Project Cold Call in the house. I don't think this is true now, but at the time there weren't a lot of people talking about it. Like Aaron Doty was, and maybe a handful of other people, but there just weren't very many people that were talking about this particular method or breaking it down. So I was like, I'm going to try. It
wasn't big in the United States. Like it was more in like other countries.
Yeah, it was huge in like Europe and Russia already, massive there, but it wasn't big here. It hadn't got any attention here. But I was so nervous and so scared of putting that shit out there. And that YouTube series is still probably the most popular thing that I've ever put out. But I mean, at the time I was scared to death that I was going to be found out as someone who was trying to help people.
Don't freaking do that. Are you kidding me?
So, you know, I was like nervous, like to put it out there. Cause I'm like, I remember the first time cause I was like, oh, I was just making it on YouTube. And then I remember someone shared one of my videos that I did on YouTube on Facebook. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be found out. People are going to find out. And it scared me. Like my heart just fell into my stomach. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to like kind of deal with that. But I got a lot of positive response. I mean, people would hit me up and say, hey, you know, because of that book, you made it, you know, it helped me get through a really difficult time in my life.
Probably clarify for the audience here. Okay. So Owen read Reality Transurfing and he recorded it and he put it on YouTube. He didn't have actual permission to do it. He just did it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why he's saying he was like nervous about it.
Well, no, I was less nervous about putting that out. I don't know why I felt compelled to do it. I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit conflicted about that. I was more nervous about explaining videos about it on YouTube and putting my face out there.
Oh, okay.
That's what made me the most nervous, because I'm like, well, I can hide behind my voice, and it's like mysterious.
Doxing yourself, or like
just putting myself
yourself
out
out
there.
there.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
putting myself out there. That was the biggest thing that I was
It
the
is
most nervous
weird at
about.
first.
I'm like, I'm hiding behind my voice on the other video, right? Like I'm reading the book. Sure, that's
Yeah,
me
you got the
reading the
good
book.
radio narrator voice. You
Right.
do.
But it's like, you're not seeing me. Like you're just
Mhm.
seeing like an image of some stars. So if you hunt around, you can still find the version that I did. It's up on several different platforms. I think it's still on a couple of channels on YouTube, but I can't share it anymore because I said I wouldn't, and I won't. But I did make a summary, to kind of put that out there because that's legal. I can do that. I'm trying to follow the rules here, but I'm not a natural rule follower. But I did want to share the material because it was so impactful to me. Like I said, when I first discovered it, I heard that dude in that self-help course that I was taking on how to talk to people. And I was like, I got to find this book. I found it and I consumed the first ebook. And then I bought the book and I read all the way through it. And I was like, this is so fucking good. I have to make it as an audiobook. And I'd never made an audiobook before, much less one with 900 pages to it. So I made it a chapter at a time and uploaded it to YouTube. And then that's where most of the people who have subscribed to my channel came from, was from that. And then people would download it and then re-upload it to their channel, and they put cool music behind it and make it cool and artful. And that lasted for a couple of years. And then, some drama happened. So, I took it all off of my channel to be compliant with the publishing companies and all that kind of stuff. And then I made just videos about it. But that was making the videos about it was the thing that I was the most nervous about. But that's how we met each other, I guess. Well, the book first, you found it.
Well, I found the book, but I mean, I never would have reached out to you because in my head you were like a tiny celebrity because you were kind of getting involved in the whole reality transurfing movement at the time, which we're not going to really get into, but we'll just allude to it. And so, as that was growing, I was like, yeah, this guy's probably got too many people like trying to talk to him about this book, so I'm not going to try to do that. But I knew the material really well because I didn't just listen to it once. I listened to it pretty much every day. It was that impactful for me. And but when you were no longer a part of the movement, I was like, what is going on? This guy is like the voice of reality transurfing. I mean, he's not the author, but he's like the voice of it. And so I finally reached out to you and asked you, like, hey, what happened? And I couldn't believe you messaged me back. I was like, all right. And then we talked about lucid dreaming, which is a part of reality transurfing. And actually, because of reality transurfing, I learned how to lucid dream. It changed my life there too, because that became like one of my most favorite things to talk about and to do. And I've done several podcasts on it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then I mean, how much have you helped me in dreaming too? Because then you turned me on to dream hackers and then or the dream searchers and all of that too.
Well, that shit's all super interesting. I don't know why Russian shit just follows me around. It's bizarre.
Well, I'm on the same kick now. It's like the Russian stuff is the stuff.
It's good.
It's so good.
Yeah, they know what they're talking about. And
then the OA of it all, because that's all Russian too, but it's all based on the same stuff.
There's some deep thinkers and I don't know. There's a lot of really good material from that area. And the reality, the irony of all the reality transurfing stuff is like the author himself claims, I don't own this model. No one owns this model. No one can own this model. Meanwhile, everyone's trying to own the fucking model. You know what I mean? They're like, this is mine. I'm going to get
you have to go to my school to learn to be an instructor and pay like $10,000. And it's like, you know what? I read the fucking book. I read it many times. I could teach this shit. I don't have to be a certified instructor. I mean, if you want to know, really just read the fucking book.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it. The book is so anti-group. And I am sort of naturally just not great at being a part of groups. I don't know. I've never had a good ability to be a part of a group. And part of the
I find that
reason
so funny
we'll get
that you
into
say
that.
that.
And part of the reason of that is because of pendulums. It's because of one of the specific ideas in the book. This is one of the biggest game changers in the book. You know, when we all were dealing with, what was it called? Damn it. I wish I could think of that term. It would make me seem really smart right now. But in like a couple of years ago, when everyone was when everyone was joining a team and everyone was on this side or that side, and they were, you know, part of this group by proxy, you know, rah-rahing from the sidelines. This is killing me that I can't think of mass formation psychosis, right? Mass formation psychosis is a pendulum. That's what it is. It's when a group of people get together. So the way I like to think of this or explain it, and this is no different than any other esoteric concept. A lot of people talk about it as egregores, but it's like energetic informational structures, or every physical object or physical entity, let's say, has its own energetic equivalent. So, you know, a football team, a political party, a reading group, a bowling league. They all have an energy.
A church.
They all have a group, and they all have unspoken contracts, sometimes spoken, sometimes written contracts that you must abide by or else. And those are what pendulums are, right? On the macro sense, but there's micro ones too. And we'll get into all this. And you know, there's another great book. Yeah, fuck yeah. Nationalism. Excellent example. Right. But yeah, we'll get into this in much greater depth as we go through the series. But yeah, it's even frequency. It's even vibrational, right? There's another book called The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon. He had a huge insight into this, and he was a French guy from like the 1800s, maybe 1900s. I don't know. I'm probably wrong on that, but it's a good book and very insightful, because he's pointing out the fact that people act completely out of character when they're in a big group, right? Like they're joining a protest, and then all of a sudden they're not a violent person, but they're breaking windows or spray painting something or whatever.
Or they're peeing in the stadium of the opposing team because they hate them. And, you know, grown ass men dressing in like weird, you know, body paint and stuff like that. Yeah. It's all out of character, and it's affiliated with these pendulums.
Yeah. And I think that's Nathan. He's saying, you know, that's a big part of his job, is to create these things, these pendulums. You know, that's what branding is. That's what these corporate entities, let's say, are. And, you know, it comes off as like magic, quote unquote, but
even celebrity, really, because you can't become a celebrity if you're generic and you're exactly like somebody else. The only way you become celebrity is to become a pendulum. You have to be slightly triggering, or you have to have some weird feature about you. It's all about like polarizing people.
It's all about having your own personal credo. And so that's really a big part of the book. And that's what lights these people up as a pendulum, is that they're so unique and different that they don't fit into some other mold. As soon as you dive into somebody else's mold, you become what he calls a parody, and what is clearly known. You know, look at somebody who's on the Hollywood Sunset Strip, right? And they're a Michael Jackson impersonator. It's a parody. You know, you're taking what someone else has done, their credo, you know, their essence, whatever it is that they're putting out there, and then you're recreating that. And so most people go through life as a parody. And, you know, that's
so when I go on stage and I say to myself, it's Britney, bitch, like I'm a parody.
I don't know about that. It depends. Are you using it for inspiration, or are you trying to be like her? You know what I mean?
I have to be Britney in the moment, so that way I walk out confident and, you know, yeah.
I don't know enough about Britney, but if you're using it as inspiration, I get that.
It's a stage persona, you know.
Okay,
You're like,
well, yeah, 100%.
Britney, bitch.
Right,
Get
right.
my smolder on, and then I walk right.
But yeah, the rule of the pendulum, right, is do as I do, right? Do as I do, be like me, be a copy, be a carbon copy. And then the rule of transurfing is to be exactly as you are and allow everyone else to be exactly as they are. So when you allow yourself to be exactly as you are, you can become your own pendulum. And then the pendulums, as he says in the book, have no choice but to light you up. So a lot of people might try to be controversial or different or push back against the pricks in order to seem different, in order to, come off and get attention. But is that really lasting?
And it's just looshing you.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just have to say this. Carla in the comments was talking about examples, or she said, or wearing pussy hats.
We'll put that up in
Exactly,
the chat.
though. Like, that's
100%.
exactly it. People
Yeah.
doing weird shit that they wouldn't normally do. That's being captured by a pendulum.
Yeah, exactly. Any of those things can happen, but really, the whole point of the book, or one of the main points, is to establish your own personal credo. And that's like why I wanted to, name this episode sort of the preamble to the personal credo. Because as we discover ourselves and who we really are, because this book's not about becoming enlightened. It's not about, like you were saying earlier, sitting down to meditate for hours and hours. It's not about even
sit and write and pour your heart out and do this and that. There's no big old freaking
no. I mean,
deliberation about
you
it.
can still do all those things if you want, and it's fine. But that's not what the book is about. The book is about returning to yourself. It's not about creating some other, controversial persona that gets you attention or hacking them, the matrix, or becoming something other than yourself, right? Like just self-developing yourself into something that's not who you are. It's not an attack on self-development either. It encourages you to develop yourself, but it's more about returning to yourself, coming back to who you are, and understanding what it is that is your own personal credo. So really authenticity, individuality, those are the things that are celebrated, as opposed to groupthink and, just being yourself instead of trying to be anything else, or even trying at all. Because it's like effortless. When you get to the end of the book, it's about giving up the fight, specifically the fight with yourself and the fight with the world. Because he's like, stop trying to change the world, because you can't.
No, but you can choose. You can choose your own path. And that's like the empowering part of it, is that intention is better than giving your attention. Like, you don't want to, if your attention is being sucked in all these different areas, you're never going to change the things that you want to change. You have the power to do that just through the power of intention and your attention, being careful where you put it.
Yeah, and intention's a huge word in the spiritual world. People will talk a lot about setting your intention. And
Don't you feel like that's because of reality transurfing? Because it was not. It was not the word until like just a couple years ago.
probably, yeah.
I feel like it's from
probably.
you and I talking about this on Clubhouse. Like, I swear, like, we made
Well,
that word popular.
I mean,
We made it a pendulum.
I mean, I think it's something that has always been in the sphere of like the esoteric, but maybe it wasn't so
It
hammered
wasn't that
on.
word. It wasn't the word, though.
And then they now, like, they've got all these different rituals, and there's nothing wrong with having a ritual. Like, put on your cape, dude. We don't care. Like, light a candle, write a symbol into a sigil, and rub one out. Do your thing, whatever you like to do. It doesn't matter, because it's not about the ritual anyway. That's not the power. The power is the intention that's behind the ritual. And so doing those things is aligning your heart and mind, the two poles. And that was a big breakthrough for me for this book, because I didn't realize that my heart and mind could agree.
I was all mind. I didn't ever want to like do anything with my heart, period. So like the idea that it was so foreign to me. Like the whole aligning of heart and mind. That was probably the hardest concept for me to like, not to swallow. It made so much sense, but it was just hard.
I felt like I was mostly all heart and still a lot heart, but I thought that I had to fight my emotions and not allow them to exist in order to be like a masculine man, and in order to take charge and to do the practical thing. And there was a huge conflict in my own psyche between my heart and my mind, because my heart wanted what it wanted, and it always will, kinky little freak. But my mind was like, you can't do that. That's not for you. You're not this, or you're not that, or you don't have enough this, or whatever. It doesn't matter. And one of the things that he says in the book is like, stop praying. He's like, you're a particle of God. You are a piece of existence. Like Rumi says, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Like, would God pray to himself to ask himself for something? Like, if you have a desire that you want to turn into an intention that you want to have in your life, then you don't have to ask for it. That's God's will as much as it is yours. You know?
And if you want to get really technical about this, because I, was a super religious person, Jesus says the same exact thing. He tells you not to like pray and ask for anything. Like, you know that you have it and it's already yours. And so like the whole idea that like I don't have to pray for things that I need, that was kind of a little bit hard to let go. But then once I realized, oh wow, you don't have to do this. Because when you ask for it, you're already admitting that you don't have it. And that's what reality reflects back to you. So it's not, I don't know, it's not biblical to really even do it, to like ask for things if you want to be technical.
You agree, right? Like, where two or more are gathered too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess that could be people. It also could be the two poles of your being. Because like all the esoteric stuff is saying the same thing. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's uniting the hemispheres. It's union of opposites. It's the chalice and the phallus. That's what magic is. It's the upwards triangle and the downwards triangle. And that's what makes the hexagram, And Illuminati.
We're calling it the Merkaba.
The Merkaba.
Yeah, spirit light body.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you place your order, as Ham Cow says, and then you allow the universe to do its work. We do, and I still am guilty of it, of reading this book again, because I've read it like every year, at least once. And then last year, I was busy doing other things and creating another business. And I just didn't read it. I didn't make time to read it. And until the end of the year. And then at the end of the year, as I was reading, I was like, oh, well, fuck. I could see how many mistakes I've made this year by getting swept up in pendulums and totally triggered and starting to react to these things that if I would have just remembered and activated that inner guardian out.
Isn't it wild though how well you can know the material, you know how the shit works, you've listened or read to this book how many times, and then like you still, like if you go too long without refreshing your memory, you're like, what am I even doing? Why did I know better than all of this,
Exactly. Yeah. And you see yourself and you're like, oh, damn it. But that's okay. I mean, that's part of it too. 2020 fucked me up. Like, that was a really hard time for me. I really, because at that time, March of 2020, I was on the Impractical Jokers cruise ship. Okay. Doing comedy with huge names. People have Netflix specials. Jim Brewer was on that ship. There was Krista Stefano, Martin Urbano, Sarah Talamash. And it was cool. People were like, hey, come up to New York, do this. And then we come off the ship and everything in March 2020 starts just shutting down. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I had a really hard time with that, because one of the things that I was struggling with was the idea of timelines, right? Like, and so this is some woo-woo shit that people talk about a lot in the spiritual community. They're like, oh, this timeline and blah, blah, blah. And in my mind, because I didn't know this yet, I was like, well, I could just jump to another timeline where this is not happening. I'm blaming myself. Like, what did I do wrong to get to this timeline, where this is happening? Is there not another quantum version of me that's still on the cruise ship life, you know, loving things and isn't having to deal with all of this nonsense. And the thing about it is there's one material reality, and he even says that in the book too, you know, but I kind of got swept up in this whole timeline thing, you know, and it's like, I think it's accurate and it makes sense, but it's also easy to just like lose sight of the fact that like, hey, you know, you got to be practical here. We're living in a inert third dimensional world that we're all sharing together, right? And so you don't just get to jump and leap to some other timeline. It doesn't work like that. That's not
the big storyline here. Like
no.
this, because this is so simulation. Like the bigger story, just like in a, you know, cutscene. We're doing coronavirus 2020.
Right. 2020. And that's what
the
we're
new
doing.
storyline. So now everybody's timelines are shifting.
And you got to ride this wave because that's the one that we're on. And so a big lesson, you know, it's like I've failed a lot. I've made mistakes. That's part of learning anything. It takes 10 years to master anything. And you're going to have setbacks doing that.
We're going to be good in a couple of years.
Shit. This year's already
watch
pretty
me.
fucking dope.
Yeah,
I'm already
2024.
Yeah, I'm having fun. It's really, really cool. And I've had a lot of insights already. And it's really a lot of fun learning and remembering some of the stuff. And yeah, Brittany Pickle Spears, she'd be knowing. It's all about choice and free will.
Brittany.
And so that's another video actually that I made recently was like, how does free will compare to your fate? Because they say your fate is written in the book, right? And I think there's a lot of truth to that, but also you do have free will. So how do these two paradoxes resolve? And
you got to read Tufte to find out. So that's a whole other episode.
Yep. Yeah. We'll definitely talk about all these concepts. I think we should, because like it only helps for everyone, you know, to look into this stuff and ask these questions and try these things out. One of the things that I've kind of noticed in this woo-woo spiritual world is the hesitancy on a lot of these practitioners to actually actively try the concepts out. I've been in places, public places, whatever, where we would have had opportunities to do things and people are too nervous to fail to try the things out, right? Like here we are in this big playground experimental lab that is the physical world, but you're too afraid because you don't want to be wrong because that would hurt your ego and fuck up your belief system.
Or you don't want to look weird.
Or or whatever, right? But it's like you don't really believe this stuff. You just talk about it on YouTube. And there's a difference. I think the difference is like you got to try it out. And in order to try stuff out, you're going to fail. Take it from a comedian. I know. I have embarrassed myself far, far worse than anybody watching this video probably ever will in 100 lifetimes.
I don't know about that.
I would bet.
Maybe.
I mean, if people could see me at my lowest, it would be so sad, you know, but I don't want to see anybody else at theirs either, you know, to be honest. But like, that's just part of learning anything, whatever that is, like whatever it is that you're trying to master, you know, like a really talented copywriter who's watching, I think still, if we saw his first email blast, I'm sure it would be pretty embarrassing, right? You see my first stand-up performance, it's going to be embarrassing. The first time somebody goes up and tries to hit a golf ball, they become a pro golfer. It's going to be just, he's going to slice it right into the woods. You know, it's just, that's part of learning anything. And you have to be able to go out and test things out and fail. It's okay to fail. You can't.
Failure is the only way to get better, really.
It's the only way. If you just sit in your little shrouded, bubble and tell people that they're doing it wrong or whatever, you know, then you're not actively even involving yourself in the process or really even learning about it. You're not getting any feedback from the world. You're just like, you know, telling people what you think. And hey, that's fine. Tell people whatever. But I think that there's just a lot of people in the spiritual movement who are nervous and hesitant to test out the concepts that they actually teach, right? Like the specific person thing. Have you seen that shit?
No, elaborate. I'm curious.
So there's this whole movement of solipsists. And I think some of y'all probably know what solipsism is. It's when you believe that you're the only person that exists, right? Like the idea of like, this is your dream and it's a lucid dream. And then all these other people are dolls in your dream or NPCs or whatever.
Dude, I kind of feel that sometimes.
No, I get it. I understand the element of that, right? But you
Yeah.
can't control some other person's meat sack. And the irony of someone sitting here telling you that you're the only person in reality while they're the only person in reality teaching you that, what the we're immediately at a huge crossroads disconnect right now, right? Because if
the
you're
whole
the only person that
Westworld of it all
exists,
to me, though, it's like,
but if you're the only
maybe I
person
don't
in
even
existence,
exist. Maybe
then
I am on a loop too.
well, you're not. I mean, that's just that. I think this is all dehumanization, right? And so these people are going to teach you how to attract your specific partner or whatever, like that you are romantically attracted to. And basically you will mind control them into it's coercion. It's straight up coercion.
NLP.
And so I think you can attract a partner 100%. You can attract all kinds of really cool opportunities and circumstances into your life. But when you start to get specific about it is when you start fucking up and getting into some weird witchcraft stuff, when you start messing with people's free will.
Black magic.
That's black magic. That's exactly right. So there's like a lot of people that talk about that. And so solipsism to me is a hugely unhealthy view. Anything that's dehumanizing to me is a huge red flag. You know, if you're like, well, there's NPCs. I'm like, yeah, well, I was an NPC,
Yeah, it
10
doesn't mean
years
that
ago.
you shouldn't care. Exactly. Before anybody who hasn't started taking the pills,
Right. Red pill,
like
blue
the
pill,
red
pill,
or
gray pill,
black or
white
gold.
pill.
Yeah, all those. If you haven't started the series of pills yet, then you're still an NPC. Sorry.
Fucking big pharma's everywhere, man.
I know. Damn.
Just
Even in our metaphors.
Even in our metaphors. Jesus, get out of here, Pfizer. Come on.
Fuck.
But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff
Pharmakia.
that's really dangerous. And people are buying this shit. Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. I like the white pills too. I mean, if we're gonna take pills and make it the white ones.
I like God pills too.
Oh, there's a little
Shout
bit of
out to Layla.
womance in the chat. That's cool. But yeah, like but back to the sort of idea of like choice and free will. Your faith, your fate is written in the book. And there's a lot of different ways to get to that, because I think your fate revolves more around an essence than it does a specific set of circumstances. So I can elaborate a little bit on that.
I would agree, because he does kind of say, though, that you're either subject to fate or you choose. So it would have to be more of an essence, I would think. Like there is something that's written, but you either go ahead and follow the script or you're choosing what happens.
Yeah. You can kind of the circumstances might be different, but the essence is the same. So your fate is your fate. There's not avoiding certain things, I don't think, in this life. It's what we come to. And if we open up our heart,
points on your map.
Yeah, maybe so. Exactly. And excuse me, in your heart is like, gotta have it, stomping her foot, right? She's like, I want my toy. I want my thing, right? And so you can lock that away in a box. I'm not saying it's inescapable. You're gonna wind up in your fate if you just shut your heart off. But if you listen to it, then there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different flows and currents that go to that same essence, to that same vibe, or and like I said, not necessarily.
We want to be on the best flows, right? You want to be on the freaking highest of, we want to catch the good wave here. The wave. Look for no mediocre waves, No. If we're surfing, we're going to surf the big ones.
Yeah, we want the big kahuna. We want the wave of fortune.
The pipeline.
Yeah, bonsai. That's exactly right. And so we'll talk about all these concepts. And I'm really excited about it. It was an awesome turnout on the live stream. I want to say shout out to everybody who's in the chat.
Thank you guys for coming.
It's so cool. And yeah, I mean, I think this method or this model. It's going to hit different for different people, because one of the first things he talks about is how variability is the most fundamental quality in reality. And we get what we test for. So there's always this natural confirmation bias that's happening at all points in time. And so when we test things out, we often get what it is that we expect to see, right? This is how the experiments in quantum physics work when they're testing. The double slit experiment is an example. Several other examples when they test for the particles at the fundamental essence of material reality. When they test for waves, they get waves. When they test for particles, they get particles. There's all these different experiments that confirm these I guess hypotheses. And
Dude, you can do it just by saying, like, sorry to interrupt, but you could just do
Yeah.
it by saying the color red. Like, I was talking about the color red to, like, some of my students when I was teaching, and I kept, saying something about the color red. Then on my drive home, like, every vehicle, which was so weird, like I counted probably like 30 vehicles that I passed that were all red, and then, like, pulling out in front of me, red, red, red. It was just wild, but like, same idea. You can do it with just about anything, and then all of a sudden, what you focus on is what reality is going to show you.
Yeah, the scientific term is the reticular activation system.
Reticular activation system. That is very scientific sounding. I'm going to have to, like, write that down so I sound smart at some point.
But yeah, I mean, it's
Reticular
basically the same.
activation system.
Yeah, it's a part of your brain that helps you to know what to pay attention to. So, that whole idea of where attention goes, energy flows, the scientific version of that in your brain is the reticular activation system.
I'm going to be texting you later to remind me of this word, because I'm like, I'm going to learn this.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's just that's what we're experiencing, right? Like Nathan says, the observer effect, right? Like that's it. That's what quantum theory is all based on. That's what magic is and all this stuff. But he says later in the book that, like, even people who we deem as crazy are still experiencing the reality the way that they're experiencing it. Their experience is valid to them, right? Like, we might say, oh, you're crazy. And yeah, by, modern standards, they might be crazy. But
They
to
might
them,
actually be the Queen of England somewhere, though.
right, in their heart, and just there's a disconnect between the material reality, but like that's their timeline or whatever. But there's a disconnect there, or they're experiencing something that we're not, but it doesn't invalidate their experience, is what he's saying. Variability is the world's most fundamental quality. And there are infinite points on a graph, an XY coordinate graph. You can dot a dot here or here or here or here or here. And each one of those infinitely is chartable. Infinity is real. It's a thing.
And if you make it a 3D model and it's spherical, then you have even more infinite dots. Just
Right.
saying.
Yeah. Like, you can read Flatland. That's like an old book where he's talking
Yeah.
about, moving into another dimension. Now, all of a sudden, all the things that are in that dimension, we can't perceive. We can't see it.
That takes me to the whole Carlos Castaneda and the assemblage point of it all.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
A whole nother conversation, but
that'll be cool to talk about. And that's something that you know a lot more about than I do, and lucid dreaming too. I've had a couple of lucid dreams, just fucking random, and I want them more. I'm dreaming more. I had an awesome dreams last night, but I still haven't had a lucid one in a while. And so you really didn't start lucid dreaming until you read Reality Transurfing? I thought you already had.
I was always a dreamer, but then he started talking about lucid dreaming, and I was like, dude, I know I can do this. And so I made it my goal to do it, and then all of a sudden I was doing it. So, and then I got into the art of dreaming, the Carlos Castaneda book, because those are really the inspiration for reality transurfing. So
yeah, it's kind of funny. We were talking about the Russian stuff, but like, how influential is all the Toltec stuff in Russian mysticism?
It's the basis. Yeah, it's the same.
It's exactly the same. which is insane.
But Castaneda says that Toltec, we all think Toltec is like South American. And he said it's not. It's actually like more widespread than that. And so like their lineages aren't passed through bloodlines. They're passed through people who have the right energy structure. So Toltec doesn't mean that they're from a certain region or a certain bloodline. So Toltecs can be from any part of the world.
That's pretty cool. I can dig that. Well, I think that like that checks out because this is all ancient knowledge. And he says that this is the knowledge that had the pyramids built. This is the knowledge that, you know, if there was a Tartaria, you know, or like some free energy or any of that kind of stuff, it's all based on this stuff, the intention really, and alignment of the hemispheres, you know, the union of opposites. Wow. You got to get out there, Ham Cow. And he says he's been lucid dreaming for decades, but hasn't done anything cool in a dream. Usually end up just waking myself up. That's what happens to me. I get excited. But hey, give him a couple ideas that he can do next time he realizes he's dreaming, Abbie. What can you do?
Practice walking through walls. You might just start sticking your arm through a wall, but practice walking through walls. It's really weird. Flying, obviously, flying is a good one, and there's different ways to fly, so you got to try all the different methods. Become a bird. Like decide not to just fly. Like tell the dream you're going to become a bird, and you'll feel like your face grow and everything, and then you can flap like a bird. Find your body. Find your physical body with your dreaming body. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
That's trippy as hell.
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever done.
I mean, it's true. He says in the book, he's like, dreaming is stronger than any drug known to man. And I mean, if you can find your physical body with your dream body, that's the trippiest thing I've ever heard of. Even a hero dose can't touch that.
That's what I like. When I did it, I was like so excited, and I'm telling my dreaming friends, and they act like, oh. I was so mad. I was like, you don't understand. I just did something very, very profound. I found my body. I shook my physical body. I felt myself in two places at once. And you're like acting like it's not a big deal.
Right? Look at yourself in a mirror.
Haters. I think everybody's a hater sometimes.
People can be.
Yeah, look in a mirror. Look in a mirror. Do that one. That one's easy.
That one's fucking crazy.
It is. I feel like I was looking in a mirror last night, now that you say that.
What about finding things? Weren't there are like video game Easter eggs in there too, right? Kind of like you can go find like little.
You can find your lumosity. You can find little pieces of your life force. There's like 5 different areas in your dream map, like your dreamscape, where you have left little pieces of your life force. So you can actually like search for it. There it's golden and it glows usually, but you can like pull that back into you. You can do healing. If you need healing in your body, you can ask to go to a healing center, or you can ask to be healed, or you can go see like a spiritual leader and ask them to heal you. Like whatever healing means to you, you can ask the dream to do that for you.
You can go talk to anybody, living or dead. Anybody.
If you can't read, you can ask the dream to read a book to you. Like if there's a book that you want to read that you'd like to like know, like hidden esoteric knowledge or whatever, just ask the dream to read it to you.
Yeah, that's cool. And you can ask what is it called? The dream emissary?
Yeah, dreaming emissary.
You can ask the dream emissary anything, and I don't know if they have to tell you. It's like a cop, right? Like
I don't think they have to tell you, because my dreaming, I think my dream version of myself is a bitch. So like I boss them around and they don't always respond to me.
There's a lot that you can do. Yeah, maybe yeah, and those pieces, you found some of those pieces, haven't you, Abbie?
I have. One was a golden apple, and it was awesome.
Oh,
another was
don't
crystals.
even say that. No, you never told me that. That fucks me up. Shut up. I don't even believe you. I didn't
even know that the golden apple was a thing until we did a Secret Society of Good Guys episode on the apples.
And I guarantee you, Paranoid American was like Robert Anton Wilson, Eris, the goddess of chaos.
I didn't bring it up. I don't think I brought up the dream, but I did. It was a golden apple growing out of a compost pile, and it was like it was glowing and I ate it.
That's
So
Discordianism. That's from the 70s, from the Principia Discordia. That's fucking crazy that you said. You never told me that before. Or if
I
you
do have a
had,
chaos tattoo on my wrist.
I mean, I
So
would be shocked. Like if you would have told me that, I would have remembered it. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit.
I think because like I don't know. I don't know why I didn't mention it. But yes, I did.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite things. That's straight out of Discordianism, which is a crafted religion from the 70s with Robert Anton Wilson and several other super intellectual, highbrow, psychedelic adventurers created. It's like a ridiculous, absurd religion based on, absurdist dogma, if you will. Like it's like eat a hot dog without a bun on Friday, and like all these arbitrary rules that are just there as absurdities. But they worship Eris, the goddess of destruction, who gave the golden apple to. And now I'm gonna fuck this up. Do you know the
Are you
story?
talking about the Trojan War? Well, she started the Trojan War.
Yeah.
She showed up. I know she shows up to a wedding feast, and she tells she wasn't invited, so she was pissed. So this is almost like Sleeping Beauty-ish, but she throws the apple on the table, gives it to like the king or whatever, the guy who's getting married, and says, give it to the goddess who you think is the most beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be like Athena and Aphrodite, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the third one is. Oh, Hera. And I don't know. I think he gives it to Aphrodite, but anyway, like it puts them all at war, and the Trojan War begins because of it.
Yeah, well, she knows what she's doing. She's like, hey, present the apple to the one that you think is the most beautiful. And of course, it's going to piss one of them off. It's the goddess of chaos and disorder. But anyway, yeah, that is a little side tangent. That blows my mind that you had that experience in a dream. Very cool. Very, very
Thank you.
cool. But
I thought it was.
yeah,
I've got a few more to find though.
That's cool. Yeah, for sure. There's all kinds of stuff out there in the dreams. And he does say like you can get lost in a dream. I don't know that anybody's ever done that, but I mean, I guess people do, spontaneously combust and stuff. So who knows?
You can wake up in another world. That's really what it is. It's not that you're disappearing or dying or anything like that. It's just that like you are literally moving into another place.
Yeah, I mean, it could be cool. Somebody hit me up on Facebook the other day, and I have some pretty weird people hit me up. And he was like, if you could just jump into some, wild, crazy reality and, blah, 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 what would it be like? What would your, fantasy sort of world be? And I don't know, maybe I answered in a boring way, but I was like, man, I have such incredible people around me and such a satisfying quality of life that I don't really want to leave. Like I'm actually enjoying the human experience and not trying to escape it, and don't get me wrong. I want to go out there and explore all these different things, but also I've learned to appreciate, I think, the material reality a little bit more and what we have
Like I'd like
to
to
connect
journey and
about.
see it, but I'm good with
I
where
want
I
to come
am.
back. Like I want to come
Yeah.
back, I want to leave and then come
I like
home.
this body. I like this avatar. This
I'm a
is a good place
fan.
to
I didn't
be.
come here for no reason. I didn't come here to just hit the escape eject button and parachute into some other
Exactly.
banana soup, quantum realm. I want to connect with you and all the people in the chat and my friends who crack me up every day and send me hilarious spicy memes. And these are good amazing things. I think we need to learn and remember, I guess, to be here and play and enjoy this experience, because it's real easy to get caught up, like I was before I found this book, in the doom and gloom and the apocalyptic fate of humanity and all this kind of stuff. We got to let
The
I think
news.
we got to let that go. Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? Like I've learned to let that go. It doesn't mean that you completely ignore it, and we'll talk about that. But it does mean that you don't let it into your slide, your
And that's
experience.
your psyche. And that's with anything. Like you should have your inner guardian on with anything, which, you know, we'll get into the guardian too, but really, like, before you consume music, before you consume media of any sort, books, movies, TV shows, like, always have your inner guardian activated, because there's always something that is trying to implant itself into your subconscious, into your psyche. So if you're paying attention, then you can just enjoy it for what it is. You can enjoy the entertainment value of it all.
It is a game, and you know, we have to remember that. It's so easy for, like he says in the book, kids to remember, but even we grow up and we start to take the game very, very seriously. And a lot of people have, like Bill Hicks, man, a lot of people have invested in this ride, and they don't want you to realize it's a ride, because, man, they'll be pissed. They have a lot of stockholders and board meetings and stuff. So it's important to remember, I think, to have fun and embrace it. And I'm really excited to explore this stuff and these concepts, especially with you. I think this has been a long time coming.
Thank you, Layla.
And spent a lot of last year working on some other things, other business kind of stuff. And I can now, you know, play a little bit and work on this as well, and pursuing some other stuff. So,
well, this is kind of important. So if y'all aren't going to read the book, then you should listen to all these episodes, because it might, like, you'll learn something. I promise, and it'll be good.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
a
apply
lot
it to your life. It's easy to apply. So
It
that's the
is.
good thing.
Well, that's what matters. What matters is the application. It doesn't matter, you know, what the terms are. The terms are
And what
different.
source you get it from. If
Right.
you're
Right. Right.
if you're just getting it from us or your summary or whatever, then
Sure.
that's, you know.
Yeah, I do recommend checking out the book 100%. The actual book, it's thick, man. It is a Leviathan, but it is the closest thing to like a full-on model. There you go.
Yeah, it's big. I mean,
Yeah, show the side.
I'm blurred.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's thick. She thick.
Big.
That's like a bowl of grits. What's up? Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna talk about all these concepts, really starting from the beginning and breaking it down so that it's pretty easy to consume. And then, yeah, I'll plug it again. My summary's out on YouTube, on Spotify and Audible now, and Everand and all these other book platforms, streaming platforms. And you can also just buy it straight from my website if you like. Any of that, like, it supports me and the model, and hopefully get something out of it. So, you know, there's a lot of videos and stuff too, and I'll be clipping this stuff up too to hopefully share some clips, shorties with folks out there. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for this first little preamble to the personal credo, and just say, you know, like, it's not about changing. It's not about complying. It's about choosing to just return to yourself. You know, it's not about enlightenment or dogma. It's complementary to any other belief system or structure of thought. It's not a threatening thing. It's not a cult you have to join, although you can, I guess, you know, you can put on a tunic and
I'm probably going to start, you know, me and my friends were starting a cult. So just so you know.
Like I said, it goes good with whatever. It's a little side dish, but yeah, we want to just put these ideas out there, because I think they were helpful for me, and I know they're helpful for you, and I think they can be helpful for other people. It's just a lot to swallow. And when I give somebody a book that's 900 pages and I'm like, you should check this out, they just look at me like, what? Bro, I can't even get through Gone with the Wind, you know, like a 30-hour book. But yeah, stream it on the things, leave me a rating on there, please. And that helps to kind of get it up in the algorithm and stuff like that. So yeah, so I try to make it even more approachable. Spent like 3.5 weeks reading the book again and trying to put it together as simply as possible without skipping over anything. that is that's useful. But there's so many nuanced concepts and things in the book. And also hop in the Facebook group. I'm doing readings there if you're on Facebook, and on Telegram, doing like morning readings. And so that'll kind of help you remember, right? Like help that guardian wake up and remember. I need it. You know, I'm doing it for my own benefit just as much as anybody else's. But if it helps you, then that's great. And it's a couple minutes. It's like a little devotional reading in the morning. So y'all feel free to hop in to those places. And if you like this episode, smash that like button and share and subscribe. And Abbie, you're working on a channel too, right? Is there a channel? Does it exist yet? Is that something I can leak?
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, it's abstract.1.
Okay. Well, cool. We'll put that in the show notes.
A dot because somebody else took my thing.
It's just a dot. That's all good. So okay. Yeah. So I'll add that to the show notes as well. Y'all go ahead and subscribe to Abbie's channel and check her out on Secret Society of Good Guys. Are you guys doing a show tonight?
I don't think so. No. Friday.
Okay. So Friday and maybe more. Friday and maybe more. Maybe more stuff. Y'all are awesome. I love the Secret Society of Good Guys. Highly, highly recommend y'all check it out. A lot of y'all are probably here because of that. So thanks for checking this out. That's dope. I love the crossovers and all good people. So we'll see y'all on Friday. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, my Sherry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And I appreciate you all for being here. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We are going to call this a wrap on episode number 1. And I just want to say thanks to everybody out there. Much, much love. Love's all there is. And keep your head up and keep rocking in the free world. We'll see you next time. Next week, we'll either be live or not. But Abbie will still look great. And I...
Hopefully, if I just come in from the gym, I might not. You never know.
No, you still will, dude. Like you just demonstrate.
I mean, I'll try because I ain't trying to like look ugly, but look, you know.
That's my job. Okay, I'm the beast on this. All right, everybody. Much, much love. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Good night.